Alright, it's going to be a trade recap on how I made $4,686.50 today, day trading the NASDAQ futures. This was the one of the trades that I took today. This was the winning trade that I took. I also took a break-even trade right here, which was not a good trade, and then I got luckily got break-even on that, so we're going to go over that as well. But low-key, a lot happened today. I ended up taking a short even though I was bullish. I know, that doesn't make any sense, but let's go over why I decided to do this. So we just delete everything right here. Get my executions on so I know where my trades were. If we go replay mode, 10 a.m. right here. Okay, so this was the 4-hour coming into the day. I was bullish up to this daily intermediate high right here. This was a daily intermediate high. Now I was bullish up to this high. Why is it doing that? Anyway, let me fix this. Top right. I was bullish up to this high, right? Originally I don't really wanted to see this high get hit, but like we're just trading super close to it, so it's probably just gonna get hit. That was kind of my logic behind that, honestly. Like it's not super complicated. I'm not like, oh, well, whatever. Like we're literally trading up to this high. This is our next draw on liquidity. We inverse this 4-hour gap right here, I think. Let's see. Yeah, so we barely inverse this 4-hour gap. So our next draw on liquidity is this daily intermediate high. So that's why I was bullish coming into the day. And we were also holding or respecting this 4-hour gap right here, which is also sending price higher. So I'm like, okay, I'm bullish. So that's why I was bullish coming into the day. If we come down to the lower time frames here, I believe this is a market open. Yeah, so market opens right. Okay, let's go to the market open real quick. So market opens right here. Now we have this 1-hour intermediate high right here. Our intermediate low. We have this 1-hour intermediate low. Where is that? Okay, right here. 1-hour intermediate low. So my original idea for the day was to take out this 1-hour intermediate low, get along up to those daily intermediate highs. I probably want to take them all the way up here. I probably just take them these highs here. But then at market open, before market open, my bad, we also formed this 15-minute intermediate low right here. Now if we come down to the 1 minute, make these a little smaller. We see at market open, price just ends up ripping down, taking out this 15-minute intermediate low. We do get this 1 minute long right here. I believe this was invalid because we hit a 2-minute gap right here. So we get this 1 minute IVG, but as we can see, as we close, we tap into this 2-minute gap here. So that's why this trade was invalid. So that was not a valid long right there. Then we end up coming back down. We actually end up printing a news wick right here because some more news came out about Trump and Iran's deal. So this ended up being a data high. And now also, this was a unmitigated 30-minute fair value gap. Make that 30. Now I will say on here, on M and Q, this did hit this 30-minute gap, but on NQ we can see that did not right here. So NQ did not tap the 30-minute gap, so that was a 30-minute unmitigated fair value gap that came very close to. So now we have now we have even more strong draws, not just two. We have these data highs, which are a super strong draw. We have an unmitigated 30-minute gap, along with all of our other draws up here, like the daily intermediate high. So I was very bullish. Now we come down to this 1-hour intermediate low. We end up sweeping it out right there. We unfortunately get no entry. I was hoping for like a 30-second off of this. This would have been beautiful bread and butter, but we never got it. So price just kind of chops around here for a little while actually, and we end up getting no entry. Then we do get this 4-minute, I believe. So we do have this 4-minute right here that I believe was also invalid because I think by the time it closed, yeah, okay, by the time this 4-minute closed, it already hit our targets. So this was also an invalid trade. Also, I didn't like to trade anyway. I called out in my Discord right on this candle right here. I said if this 4-minute closes, I'm not taking it because look at all of this generated liquidity we have below us. So I'm like, I do not want to take a long against low resistance liquidity. At this point, I was waiting for either the data high and 30-minute gap to get hit or this low resistance liquidity to get hit because data highs are a super strong draw, so is LRL. So I don't want to take a trade against either of them. So at this point, I was sitting on my hands and waiting for something to present itself outside of this area because I didn't want to take a trade against this and I didn't want to take a trade against this. So now if we come to the 5-minute chart, we can see we end up pushing price higher. Price ends up pushing higher. We also have these relative equal highs right here. Now at this point, I was looking for a continuation long up to these relative equal highs. Right? So I was looking for a continuation long up to these relative equal highs. But at the same time, if we delete all this, now this is why I said a lot happened today. All right, I hope I'm not being confusing, but a lot did freaking happen. At the same time, we are respecting this 30-minute for value gap, bearish for value gap, that is protecting these highs. So we have these relative equal highs, but we have a 30-minute for value gap protecting them. So at this point, again, I'm just being patient, right? I still wanted to see a continuation long, but we had to fill in this 5-minute gap right here, and now this is actually where I ended up taking my break-even trade, but we had this 5-minute gap down here as well. So if we play price out a little here on the 1 minute, we'll go on the 1 minute here. We're going to delete this 30-minute gap. It's too much to look at. So price does end up coming down and tapping into this 5-minute for value gap right there. Now usually I would not like this because we're so high in premium. I would like to see either a 15-minute gap form and get hit, or equilibrium or a discounted 5-minute gap get hit. But the reason why I was okay with taking a long off of this is because we formed an SMT divergence with this low. As we can see, ES never ended up taking out this low, and NQ did. So at this point, I was looking for a long, and this is exactly where my break-even trade took place, which I'm not very happy with this trade. It was not a good trade, in my opinion, even though I took it. But looking back on it, obviously hindsight, but I do not think this was a bad trade. Or I do not think this was a good trade. Also, I knew this was not a good trade in real time, and I know I didn't know, or I know I didn't think it was a good trade because I literally did not feel comfortable posting this trade in my Discord. So I knew that this was a bad trade when I took it, but I took it anyway. But this was my trade. I got a really bad entry, like somewhere up here. Now I was going break even at like this 1 minute gap. This was my idea. Let's go break even here. We got this strong close, 30-second inverse. Why this was a bad trade? We have no accumulation at all. We have nothing, right? We just dump, boom. We have no generated lows to target. We have nothing, no good targets, and we're in premium of the range. Now again, if we made a situation like this, boom. Oh shoot, wrong thing. If we made a situation like this, boom, and we generated all these lows and then got this with all this generated liquidity leading up to this high, absolutely I would have been okay with this trade. But as you can see, we don't have any generated lows. We just have this 1 minute gap, or like it was a 2 minute gap too, and then we have these highs up here. We just dump and get it inverse, and this is not a good setup. We don't have no generated liquidity to target. But if we play this out, we can see it never actually ends up hitting that break even point. But I ended up moving my break even to this high because we formed a 3 minute for value gap. So I ended up moving my break even to this high. And then as we can see, if we play this out, very stressful trade, by the way, because we came down, ended up getting break even on that. Thank God, because that was not a good trade. So thank God we got break even on that. That was my first trade. Do not take a trade like that. Wait for some sort of generated liquidity before you take a trade. I know, even I make mistakes, all right? Anyway, so we play price out, and now we just kind of chop. Okay, this is what I really, really like. This is why I took a short, okay? So we end up opening up this 15-minute gap right here. If we delete all this trash, we end up opening up a 15-minute gap right here. Now, at this point, I'm waiting for, okay, let's rewind a minute. Once this 15-minute gap opens up, I'm waiting for a long out of this gap. I want to see a retrace into this gap, stop point, boom, up to these relative equal highs. Watch what happens. We never hit the 15-minute for value gap. We make relative equal lows, get super, super close to it, but don't end up hitting it. And then what happens right here is, okay, remember we're inside a 30-minute gap. So this is a 30-minute intermediate high, right? 30-minute, let's make this 30-minute intermediate high. On ES, takes out this 30-minute intermediate high. So now we have a sweep of liquidity of a 30-minute high, 30-minute intermediate high. We have an SMT right here, and we have a relative equal low at an unmitigated 15-minute fair value gap. Now I know for price to go up, now I don't know this 100% of the time, but probability-wise, for price to go up, most of the time is going to have to fill in this 15-minute gap or even equilibrium of this range before it continues higher. Especially when we get super close to this 15-minute gap and don't hit it. So, and then we get an SMT on top of it. SMTs are confluences that I use for extra confirmation. I don't wait for an SMT, but if I see an SMT, I'm like, bet this is even better now. So that was my thought process on this. And then we have this 1 minute for value gap right here, which is the highest time frame in the leg. This actually takes a second to get inverse, but we end up getting a strong close on this. Now this also helped my conviction. We get this strong close right there. I ended up putting my stop somewhere up here. I got a little bit of a better entry somewhere around here. I don't know. And then I went break even at this 15-minute gap, and I ended up targeting equilibrium of this range, not just a 5-minute gap, which is basically the same, but I put my TP right there. So there was my take profit, and then I went break even at this 15-minute gap. If you see, instant delivery down to that 5-minute gap, equilibrium of the range. Absolute banger freaking trade. This is how you freaking adjust to the markets, bro. You can't just be like, oh my god, I'm bullish, I'm waiting for it. Like, this is reading the freaking markets and reacting, bro. That first trade, forget about it, all right? That was a bad trade, all right? I know. But this trade is how you read and react to the markets. We see I'm bullish. I'm still bullish. Even though I'm taking a short, I'm still bullish. But I know that this is going to get hit at least. Like, this is a free trade because I know that this 15-minute for value gap is going to at least get hit. So this is a free break-even trade because I went break-even this 15-minute gap. We have LRL leading up to this too. We like generate some liquidity here. Obviously, we have these relative equal lows. We get a strong close. Like SMT, I mean, this is literally, even though I'm bullish, I'm taking this 100 out of 100 times. I don't even care. And now look what happens. Look what happens. Even though I'm bullish, right? I'm still bullish, right? Look what happens. Boom. All the way up to these relative equal highs, just like I called out. Boom. Literally, it's so freaking easy. But honestly, if I waited for this, I would have got screwed because I would have waited for this 2-minute inverse right here. And then we had this huge wick. I think that was news. But still. We come down, we fill in equilibrium of this range, 15-minute gap, 5-minute gap, and then we go up to these relative equal highs. But I was able to catch this short down, filling in. I was able to catch it short on the retrace, filling in the 15-minute and 5-minute gap. The only reason, though, I took this and why I was so confident in this is because of the relative equal lows and the SMT. If we didn't have both of those, then I would have just waited for these to get hit and then a long out of it. But the SMT and the relative equal lows at the unmitigated 15-minute gap made me gave me very, very high conviction in this, at least hitting the 15-minute gap. So again, like, this was a free break-even trade at least because I knew this 15-minute gap was going to get hit. So yeah, anyway, absolute banger week. I called these trades out in my Discord except for the 30-second one because I knew that was a bad trade, so I did not want to screw my community on that. But and if you don't believe me, join the Discord and go see for yourself. I mean, the chats are in there. So free Discord link down below. I post my daily bias in there every day. I post trade ideas, live trade ideas in there every day as I'm trading in the morning, so you guys can catch these banger trades with me. Absolute banger week. 5 of 5 green days this week. Banger week. And I'll see you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you Monday.